Hello and welcome to our Agile Awareness Series. My name is Bula from East Africa, together with my colleague Emmanuel from West Africa. Hi, Emmanuel, how are you doing?
Hi, Bula, I'm good. And I'm excited this morning for us to have our session once again.
Right. So in our last session, we talked about the Agile values, and today we're going to be talking about the Agile principles behind the Agile Manifesto, which are basically the principles that guide the various Agile methodology that are used in different projects. So these Agile principles are 12, with the first principle, which states that our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software or valuable products. So this principle has basically two components, which is basically focused on customer satisfaction versus planning, perfect plans and documentation, and also focusing on early and continuous delivery. What do you think about this principle, Emmanuel?
Yeah, it is very important. We're looking at customer satisfaction. And in fact, that should drive all Agile teams because they want to deliver value for the customer and to do so consistently. And that is very key for Agile teams.
The second value is on welcoming changing requirements even later on in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. So basically what we mean here is to be open to changes in the projects that we're undertaking. The traditional approaches have been viewing change as a negative aspect. We always associate change with scope creep, which is basically added cost to the project, which is quite expensive. But with Agile approaches, Agile basically fosters change. It accepts that change is inevitable. Because change will occur, we then embrace change throughout the project. And we do this by using different easier tools. Instead of having a stringent change control process, we focus mostly on having lightweight, high visibility tools that we can actually quickly use to prioritize changes through a product backlog and things like that, which are easily adaptive, and we can easily include those changes and adapt to the changes.
That's very true. Because in traditional project management, because of sticking to a stringent plan, when things change, it is difficult to be able to accommodate the change. So if we looking at embracing change with that Agile mindset, we are able to take on even deep into the project. If something that would deliver value to the customer has to be incorporated, we want to go ahead and then do that.
So the third principle talks about delivering working software frequently, where we, from a couple of weeks or through a couple of months, with a preference to a shorter time scale. How do you explain this, Emmanuel?
So we're looking at delivering solutions incrementally in a short cycle, so that we don't have to have a very long period and only wait to see the product develop at the end. So if it is broken into chunks in iteration, every iteration we are delivering value to the customer, and then we keep adding on to make the full solution in place. So we don't want to do a big bang, only deliver at the end, and incrementally do so.
And then this also helps us avoid perfectionism. We can really get caught up in trying to deliver a perfect product, trying to deliver a perfect solution, but it's always better to do something at a minimum, get feedback. When you get that feedback early, it helps to even avoid going too far down the wrong path, because you'll use that feedback and incrementally improve on the solution that is being developed, yeah?
Exactly.
The fourth principle states that we focus on business people and developers working together daily throughout the project. So this principle is essential because it removes silos among teams. So instead of analysts working on their own to collect requirements and develop detailed plans, and then developers coming in and doing the development, these teams work together. And that's why in Agile teams, we've got a mix of, the product owner together with the development team, the Scrum Master and stakeholders as one team, working together to avoid those silos, but to also improve in the execution of the project. What do you think, Emmanuel?
Yeah, this is very important because the business people know how the system should work. The developers would do the technical work. So if they collaborate, they will be able to develop what will be most valuable to the customer and not what the developers think will be valuable to the customer. So that is why it is very important that the two groups work together. The business people who know what should be given to the customer, and as well as the developers who are doing the technical work.
Principle number 5 states that we build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and support that they need, and trust them to get the job done. This is a good one. Having motivated and capable and smart people in the team makes a big difference between the success or the failure of the project. Normally, we want to focus on having teams who are motivated, people who work and perform better in their work. They do that when they are happy, and also when they're given the autonomy to be able to organize on their work. And that's also a motivating factor to actually get the job done. If you're feeling like you are trusted, that way you are delivering, but also you will be more accountable to the work that you were doing. Yeah.
That's true. So intrinsic motivation, that is very key to the success of the project.
Principle number 6 states that the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within the development team is face-to-face conversation. What do you think about this, Emmanuel?
Face-to-face conversation shortens the feedback loop. If I send you email, just think about the amount of time it will take for you to read and respond. But if we are together co-located, the feedback loop is very short. I talk to you. I can also see your emotions and read through the response. So that's the most effective way to communicate between people within the team. And that is something that Agile would want to say that is the first choice. If all things being equal, that is the first choice of communication.
Face-to-face communication, yeah?
Yes.
So documentation and written communication and documentation is important for record keeping, for compliance issues as well. But we know that sometimes it can slow down the process and it can be costly, but face-to-face is the most effective and recommended way of communicating, right?
That's right. Principle
7, working software is the primary measure of progress. So this reminds me of that saying where we say that anything that is half done is not done, because we are, if the focus is actually delivering a working software or a working product in this case, detailed and perfect designs of documentation and blueprints, those are really not functional. What really matters ultimately is what is functional, that can be tested, that can be used by a customer, and then they can also convey back feedback, yeah? So even when we're setting KPIs in our teams, we want to also focus these KPIs to be directed to the functioning feature, however minimum that product can be, yeah?
That's right. Just think about it, Bula. Imagine I want to give you something nice, maybe a dish, and I write documents to describe how the dish is.
Yeah.
How about if I prepared it and then gave it to you to taste? What about that?
That's even better, because that way I can give feedback on how it's like, and it can be improved.
That is it.
Principle number 8, Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. This is a good principle, and it really helps with avoiding burnouts in teams, yeah? Instead of long development periods, instead of, you know, overworking the team by doing you know, detailed plans and then detailed development, and then the testing team goes again and does, you know, stringent work when it comes to testing, there's a lot of burnout. So with Agile, I like this principle because it promotes a stable working pace. It encourages a work and life balance. What do you think, Emmanuel?
That's very true, because if you look at it, if you don't have a constant pace, what it means is that in the day, you may be doing more than 8 hours of work, and that will lead to burnout, as you said. So if there's a constant pace, if we are all disciplined, work can be done within 8 hours or 7 hours of the day, and work close. We all go back refreshed, rejuvenate following day, and fired up to continue producing the solution. So that is something very key. We don't want the developers to be burned out. And you know, when they are burned out, quality will be compromised. So we don't want that to happen. That's
true. Principle 9, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. So we want to, with this principle, we want to focus on quality throughout the execution of a project. We want to focus on quality through continuous attention to detail, through integrated testing as well, in order to make sure that whatever we are developing, the final product, even in those increments, has the good design, but is also focusing on technical excellence, which really translates back to product excellence. What do you think, Emmanuel?
Yeah, it's very important that we give attention to technical excellence here. Design should be very simple, should be modular, so that if a system should be worked on, a component can be put out of work while the entire other systems are working. And that is technical excellence. We don't want a system where if we have to make maintenance, the entire solution has to be put out of service. So technical excellence will help us to be able to do designs that are modular and enable us to be able to let them function, and we can work on each of the components as and when necessary without affecting the entire functionality of the solution.
Right. Principle 10, simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work that is not done is quite essential. I like this one, and it really goes back to translating the saying that less is more. What do you think, Emmanuel? What are your thoughts here?
So we're looking at delivering value to the customer. So the customer has asked for certain things to be provided. We want to stick to that. We don't want to produce more functionality that will not even be used at all. So let's stick to what is most valuable to the customer, work on that, and don't complicate things. Make it very simple. And that way, we deliver value on time, and the customer is happy. So that, you see, there's a kind of link. Satisfaction would be linked to making things simple and then delivering on time. Right.
So it's even better for the teams to focus on only the essential elements of the project, to try as much as possible, even though when you're working in development, you may actually be tempted or persuaded to include add-ons. And this really comes back to gold plating, which is, we know that's not very good when it comes to projects. Huh? Yeah. Principle 11, the best architectures, requirements, and designs normally emerge from self-organizing teams. So this really comes back and ties into the teams, the people who are working on the project. Self-organizing teams have been proven to work better, to be happier, to, you know, work, when you have that autonomy to actually make decisions, when you have the autonomy to plan on the work that you're doing collectively, you also tend to have ownership in the design, in the architectures that are being built, and eventually in the development and the solutions that are being deployed by teams. So the encouragement with this principle is to foster self-organizing teams that have the autonomy to plan on their work, to also make those decisions that when it comes to architecture and development, and also testing and eventually deployment of the solutions, while working together with product owners and other stakeholders to get feedback.
That's very true. And that is a very key thing that we find to be very difficult in our part of the world. Trusting the team, allowing them to operate on their own, to become autonomous. That trust is very key. And the team also has to earn that trust, because if they are not self-disciplined, they are not focused, then it will be difficult for people in managerial positions, the executives, to be able to trust that if we leave them, will they not be on a roller coaster and then just things will just be boom. So that trust has to be earned from time.
So it has to be earned, it has to be given as well, huh?
Exactly, that's right.
Principle number 12, at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So this is more of self-reflection, which is one of the big principles when it comes to agile teams, right? So traditionally, we know that we do with projects, lessons learned are done, but these are done towards the end of the project after a product or a solution has been already delivered, after the project is completed. But with agile teams, there are a lot of ceremonies that foster reflection, retrospective sessions, and I think these are quite useful, and they are one of the things that make a difference between traditional teams and agile teams. What do you think, Emmanuel?
That is very true, because reflection helps you to see where you need to make improvements and to deliver value. The improvement faster if you regularly reflect. If you only do it at the end, you may have lost a number of things because of the span of time.
Right.
But if it is shorter, you are able to quickly see where you went wrong, what was good that you did that you can repeat in the next iteration. So that helps to continuously improve the solution delivery, and even the team itself, the dynamics, they can be able to improve the way they work with regular reflection of what they do.
Those were the 12 Agile principles behind the Agile Manifesto. These principles are very practical and they are very useful, and they really guide the different Agile methodologies and Agile approaches that teams use when it comes to development of software, but beyond software, development of projects in all other industries, in all other fields as well. So thank you very much for tuning in and listening to these Agile principles. Please share your comments and give us feedback. Thank you very much.
We'd love to hear from you, team. Everyone, we want to hear from you. Thank you so much.